at the end of the day, we just blame the government. Yes, there's a side of the government. There's also a side of the people. You get to some companies, everybody's probably just sleeping. They've done their jobs for the day, and they're just sleeping for the next 5-6 hours or 4 hours. They could be at home.
Waiting for 5 o'clock.
Do you understand? Then they jet into the road again. Everybody, by 4, 5, everybody's out on the road again. We're talking about 20,000 cars trying to plug a very tiny road. And with the whole infrastructure happening right now, with Lekki to Ajah, can imagine the crazy traffic that you were saying. So there's a need, because Lagos are actually very smart as well. The roads are tiny and all of that. It's supposed to be an exclusive state.
Yeah.
But because of the exclusivity, you see a lot of people coming into Lagos, and now there's so much pressure on the road, pressure on the infrastructure, pressure. If you have 5,000 people using a product of 1,000, then you should know that it's going to break down every now and then. So Lagos does not have the resources right now to accommodate the number of people living in Lagos. But the way we can do it is to partner with the private sector, encourage private owners of businesses to look into the work-life balance. Encourage hybrid. If I don't have to come to work, maybe I can come to work maybe twice a week.
Now, today's topic centers around Lagos Rent Circle, unpacking urban migration, demand pressure, and developer behavior. Joining us to unpack this robust topic is John Oloruntobi, a real estate lawyer and property market analyst. So glad to have you.
Good afternoon, Olumide. Good afternoon, baby.
Yeah, well,
good afternoon, everyone at home watching.
Yeah, he came prepared. Yes, because I know some of our viewers are going to ask some questions that you will need to take back.
Yes, there's a saying I saw somewhere that you remember you are not welcome to Lagos, you were introduced to Lagos or something like that. But, everybody wants to come to Lagos. Lagos is the center of excellence. Everybody wants to work in Lagos, everybody, even for the so-called Dirty December, everybody wants to come to Lagos. But with the population in Lagos, one would think that there will be enough housing. Rent should be, at the minimal or affordable. But we see that most of the rents available are targeted to higher income earners, not even the middle income earners. And the population we have in Lagos are of lower income. Why do you think, how did we even get here?
Well, so that when you're talking about economics, you're talking about demand, supply.
Definitely.
And this affects the pricing of anything. So there's basically a mismatch with regards to what we have on ground and not the supply. We have a lot of buildings, a lot of vacancies everywhere. And just like you rightly said, there's a need for people to have access to these vacancies. Now, that's the problem. People don't have access to these vacancies because the pricings are over the roof. Some weeks ago, I was trying to get a property for a client, and we're looking through the market, and this at the end of the day, when I went back to this client, he said, "Let me just hold on to what I have right now." Now that's how nasty it is. The properties are out there, but the target for this property, about 70% of the residents in Lagos can afford these properties because of the minimum wage that people are collecting and what we're actually earning in a real sense. Now, who do you blame for this? The developers? Do you blame the government? That's a question I'll leave you to ask me as we go on the show. But moving on with this topic, you realize that it's still a very big issue. Yeah, Lagos is a center of excellence. People are coming in. You have expatriates. December is coming. There are a lot of buildings or properties out there for short-term rents and all of that. But how many people can really afford these things? Because generally, inflation affects everyone, not just Nigerians. But there's a big gap in the affordability structure. The properties are actually there. Trust me. If you go online now, a room self, 2-bedroom, if you want a whole building, it's right there. But we're talking about hundreds of millions. How many Nigerians can really afford this things?
Yeah. So
these are the issues. And I feel like this is where government comes in with certain policies and regulations.
Now, if the developers or house owners understand that, yes, many people can't afford the type of houses that are available, so why build that same kind of house?
That's a discretion, or should I put it, that's subjective actually. If I have over 150 million to invest, I don't think the government can stop me, or the government should decide how I spend my money, how I invest my money. Because at the end of the day, the government, the policies that they're putting in place is for investors to come into the system. Now, where the problem is, it lies between the people developing the houses. In Lagos, you have a lot of joint ventures that developers are coming in. They get your land, they help you build and all of that. Inflation comes into the structure. The last time I was here, we talked about the cushioning of the new tax laws on how they removed VAT, from this and that, and that to help developers manage what they are bringing in. If you know how much it costs a developer to bring in products, because we're still very dependent on exports, importation and all of that. So you realize that it's very, very expensive. And with the Naira dropping today, entering into emergency next tomorrow, you realize that these people also try to put a risk factor with regards to how much they put out their properties for. I'll give an example. Between January and February, or between January and April, you can envision your property to go for as high as 50 million naira if you put in a running cost of, let's say, 20-30 million. But before you get to April, because of inflation, maybe the materials you want to use for the interior to make it an suite and all of that comes in, you're looking at the estimated jump price of 70 million.
Okay.
Now, there's an inflation problem. There's a Naira problem. There's also a local and international trade problem with regards to what we buy to facilitate, real estate or development in regards to real estate. So
now we've seen that most developers put their attention in a certain area. For instance, everybody wants to develop the Lekki houses. Everybody wants to develop the Aja houses, the VIs and the likes, leaving the mainland to, of course, landlords to do their thing. So how do we balance it? Don't you think that focusing in a certain area is one of the factors that is causing this hike in rentage? And how do we tackle this?
Well, I don't think it's about focusing in an area. I think it's more of what kind of development is coming into that area. Yeah, you might be right in a way, but I know developers, like, they focus mainly on the mainland.
Okay.
Because, we all know the issue with regards to water, drainage and all of that, and flood, basically. And everyone, when it comes to the rainy season, you see the mainland people with their shoulders and everything. And properties now on the mainland are matching up with that of the island because of this water issue and the rest. So I really don't think it's about the focus on the island, because right now the island is very, very vulnerable right now. You see people that have money, should I say the richer class, let me put it that way, they have their houses on the island and they have like an emergency one on the mainland.
Okay.
So the reason why there's so much, should I say, hike in price of property, rental and all of that right now, for my opinion, is that the way the country is focused on insecurity, you would realize that everyone is trying to come down to Lagos, because Lagos is like where you can get that safety in a way. So that also affects the economy. It affects how these landlords see the pricing and all of that. So it's not really about the focus on island. At some point, the mentality was island and island, but I feel like it's generally Lagos, because even if you go to Ikorodu now, Ikorodu at 2015, 2017, you would still find a room sale for 350 a year. Now it's going as high as 800,000. It's still reasonable compared to what you get on the main side, like Ikeja and the rest, and of course the island. But you can see the shifts, because right now, Lagos as a whole is more of a safer environment for Nigerians.
So my question now is, why is it that it seems as if these developers are more attracted to premium apartment than low-cost housing? Is it the profit that they're after, or there are other regulatory financing barriers, operation overhead costs that they're trying to cover up, inflation? Why is it that they're mainly focused? Because what you hear now is luxury apartments, all in suits.
Yes.
That.
To be honest, let's try and bring it very down. I believe that it's still back to a mentality issue. Nigerians, we are so classist. I'm going to say we believe that, and you go to Sule now or Ibutemeta, you see, just because a landlord painted the house white, and the next thing says I'm a suit and all that. So it's what the trend. We work more on trends. You understand? We don't look at the average developer or average landlord does not look at what exactly entails when you're calling something a suit, or you're calling something a smart house or something. That's why you see houses that have been advertised on the island for over 1.3 billion naira, and when you do the equivalence to what you're getting in Nigeria and somewhere in California, you're like, really, I'd rather put my money in the US than put it here, because we don't understand these things. we have a number issue. Like my friends on Twitter will say, we have a number issue. Everybody just wakes up and we look at this book and like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. Put the price. You don't even look at the market. So I don't believe that there's a market for real estate. We don't have a market for real estate. But when you say you have a market for real estate, it means that you have a governing body. You have policies. You have people that are enforcing these laws and these policies. We don't have these things. We just have, I don't know what to call it. I think it's just a space where anyone can just come in and put a price on the property. And that's why you see, as a landlord, you have a property for sale for 50 million naira, and you have like 10 agents on this property. And from 50 million asking price, it gets to the 10th agent, and you're talking about 100 million naira right now for the property. And then there's someone that can actually buy it because of the clientele that this agent has. But that's an overpriced property at the end of the day, because the asking price is 50 million naira. But they'll tell you, we're making money. It's business. Business is business. So there's no market, because before you say there's a market, then there has to be like a governing body for this.
I have questions for agents concerning those agents. I'm very serious about it. I have questions about them. But before I face the agents, house agents, let's talk about, you mentioned importation of building materials. Now, most landlords, most buildings, I'm not talking about the ones that are being built right now.
Yeah.
They increase the rentage. Maybe they foreseen that inflation is coming, or whatever reasons there is, the price go up. Now, these people are not importing materials. The building is standing. No renovation is going on. But you just heard that this is something I have seen. So you just heard that your neighbor is now giving his own house, maybe a new building. The person just built. The person just spends money. It's not giving at XYZ amount because of that. And an existing building that has been built in the last decades or 2 decades ago with leaking roof and the likes, the landlord comes and of course push up his own price. How do you balance this? Will you also say this is as a result of imported materials or greed? How do you describe that kind of situation right now?
So largely, if we're going to put in emotions into this sense, you can say you can call it greed. But from my little experience with economics, you'd realize that I've seen a property that was abandoned for about 8 years, was built way before inflation, madness and all of that. But upon the landlord coming to terms, let me just rent this house out, he had to put it with the price that is let me use the word market is saying right now. The reason for that is because you need to understand that no matter how you claim that the materials are gotten here, there's some materials, depending on the kind of, that were, of course, imported. One way that we, as a country, we depend on this. So it's a cycle. It's a cycle. At the end of the day, you still find out that most of the issues still goes back to regulation. We don't have an harmonized body that says, okay. If I'm going to ask you, how many houses are actually registered? There's no data for it. I was having an argument with some of my colleagues earlier today, and I'm like, if we're going to move forward in Lagos, then we need to understand that an agency must be put in place. Every house must be registered, no matter how old the house is. Even if your house is rickety and you're in Lagos, for example, you must register that house for data, information. Now, it takes you to now see that, okay, this house, you can have a 3-bedroom flat in, let's say, somewhere like Agege, and the next house, you're paying maybe 1.5 million for that.
Yes.
And the next house is paying like 6 million within the environment. So tell me, why am I paying more? Now, what the landlord will tell you is, the person paying more will tell you, oh, it's an ensuite, the house is painted white and all of that. No. There should still be like a gap, or should I say a bracket rather.
Yes.
You understand? So if you're paying 2.5 million for a 2-bedroom flat, the next compound should be paying at most 2.6, 2.7, because you're within the environment. Whatever happens in the environment affects both of you. The same light you're getting the same light. But because the other house could be built by a developer, and then the other house is old, you'll be getting, your house is new, you have to pay about 4.5 million. So there's a need for regularization. If we don't do that, we'll not move forward. And Lagos State is trying to do that right now with all of but it's still English. It is actually still English.
Until implementation happens.
Yeah, still English.
So, do you think at this point Lagos is building for its population or an imaginary population?
Nah. I don't think Lagos is building at all for its population, because if we're talking about Lagos State building for its population, then you're talking about subsidized pricing or prices for houses, affordable housing. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing houses of, I mean, a room self-con in Sierra is going for as high as 2 million naira. And I'm not even kidding. This is not even go to Property Pro and check 2 million. And these houses are not even ready. So they still need your money, and they'll tell you maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you move in. So you just imagine that how many people can afford that. So that's these houses are there, but not for the common common person. And I gave a figure earlier. I said over 70% of Lagosians living in Lagos or residents of Lagos can't afford. And you have over 600,000 people coming to Lagos every year at an estimate, because of safety and there's industry here. So
do you think this Lagos developers, if they had the incentive to build proper cheaper units, they would? For instance, if there was a partnership with them and the federal ministry, the Ministry of Housing, whereby land is allocated to them at half the price. Okay, build a cheaper unit, a subsidized. We will give you the land. All we just need you to do is build at a cheaper rate. Do you think they will go for it?
It's still down to what the agreement looks like. I strongly believe. I was at a local government seminar one time. I think that was in May, and they were talking about that was the first time I had access to this PPP, private public partnership and all that, which is very, very good. I feel like that's where we need to key into, like you just mentioned. The government gives out property, land and all of that, and then you can build at a good price. This is what you get in areas like areas in the UK, that is most especially the remote areas. You see that you can really afford, based on even students can afford this housing. But in Lagos, because as a private owner, you are buying the property by yourself, you are building yourself. That's why this old JV stuff is coming in now, because even developers can't afford the luxury to buy the land and then build. So they're looking for people to partner with. But partnership between private and private still ends up at a very high side. So we need the government to come in. Okay. We have land. Ikodu is a very high, they have a strong land mass, where they can partner with private people to come in, build estates that people can actually afford. And with the rail, it helps, to come out from that environment. So it's a very good point where the government can actually partner at large. Not because I've been hearing about it, I've not just seen any so far. For the past 5 years, I've not seen. All I hear is government has partnered with this particular private company to maybe give them any. At the end of the day, you just hear 2 million naira, 2.5 for the property, and you're wondering where is the cushioning of the whole inflation in regards to rentals and all that for the people. It's just at the beginning you hear this, we're doing a partnership, they do a conference and you're so excited about it, and then 3, 4, 5 months down the line, it's almost even, it actually feels like it's just a seminar to get the people to say, we are relaxed now, they're working something for us, and then nothing actually happens. It's still back to them for their private use. So
okay, so I'll take you back a little. You talked about the section whereby the house units are affordable, like the places you mentioned, like Ikorodu and the likes. And I love the fact that you mentioned transportation system. Now, people tend to move towards that area, the area where they know, okay, yes, the houses that are there are affordable. But you also agree with me that transportation system in Lagos, it has improved, but not to the very point whereby it is, you can say that within an hour, you are where you want to be.
Okay.
So what is the plan? What do you think Lagos State needs to do? First, we appreciate the BRT and the train that is running from Festac to Marina here. It's a beautiful idea, but you can't say that with Ikorodu to the island. Mondays are still crazy days. And more people are moving into those areas where they know that, yes, the houses are affordable. What do you think that Lagos State needs to do urgently in order for people to be able to say, okay, I'm moving to where I can afford, but transportation, cost of transportation? If not for the BRT, many people want to work on the island because you can't afford it. Cost of transportation is high. So even if you are saying, okay, the train is there, yes, the train is okay, 845 naira, the BRT 845 naira from Ikorodu then to which should be 600 thereabout. But I think there is more that Lagos State need to do. What are those things that they need to do, especially in terms of transportation system?
Well, I would take you further than just the Lagos State government. It goes back to even the private sectors as well too. I'll come to that. That's regards to the human resource benefits you get as workers and work-life balance. Now for government, it's simple. I mean, I always cite this example of recent. The government puts, I'm sure it's the government that puts road bumps or speed bumps rather at the international airport exit. Now that road used to take you less than 10 minutes, 8 minutes to pass through that place to turn down to Ajao. Now it takes about 35 minutes to 1 hour. Why? Because they put two speed bumps there. Now the intention is nice, but the output and productivity is killing. So you have to look at what you have and develop it more. We have bad roads. The pedestrian bridges are not working. And you know what that happens? It means that people have to cross the road. Delays, slows down motorists and all of that. These are the issues. These are the things that cause, this traffic and delays. The government needs to come in and enforce certain rules. You put the pedestrian bridges there for a purpose. Now, people don't use them. It's back to the people. But you understand that the people still need this, shall I say, this government hand to see why this pedestrian, crossovers are there. So for me, the BRT is not enough. I personally don't like the yellow buses because of the safety.
Yes.
But I mean, you have to do what you have to, what you have. But if you can get the roads functioning properly, you get to sort of like I think it's not mile 12 or so. You have potholes all over the environment. Now, a pothole deprives a delivery driver of about 14 deliveries a day down to 9. Affects the productivity. So once we can get all of this done, and I know I can jet out from a lot of people have their cars, but they don't just use them because of traffic. But if I know that I can jet out from Ikorodu down to the island within 35-40 minutes without traffic,
45 minutes
without traffic, I'm good. In short, people partner. These days, people partner together. Oh, you go to the island, and okay, we can go together.
Yeah.
In my car, I have a car, you have a car, but let's just, and then people go. So people have their personal lives. Now, to the private people or private sector, why do we need to be headstrong? There are a lot of rules. I mean, the Western countries, they encourage remote jobs, hybrid jobs. We all don't have to be. We practice a 9-to-5 system in Nigeria. Lagos, for example, everybody's out by 5, by 4 in the morning, and all of that, and then your entire road is congested. Even people that don't have to be at work, that don't have to do anything at work up until maybe 5 o'clock or 2 o'clock, have to still be on the road. So why can't we encourage an hybrid system, remote system? It works. During the COVID-19, a lot of companies still had to work through.
Yes.
Yeah, there are loopholes, there are lacunas and all that, but this is where you implement policies. Because at the end of the day, we just blame the government. Yes, there's a side of the government. There's also a side of the people. You get to some companies, everybody's probably just sleeping. They've done their jobs for the day, and they're just sleeping for the next 5-6 hours or 4 hours. They could be at home.
waiting for 5 o'clock.
Do you understand? Then they jet into the road again. Everybody, by 4, 5, everybody's out on the road again. I'm talking about 20,000 cars trying to plug a very tiny road. And with the whole infrastructure happening right now, I mean, we like it to Ajah. Can imagine the crazy traffic that you were saying. So there's a need, because Lagos are actually very small as well. The roads are tiny and all of that. It's supposed to be an exclusive state.
Yeah.
But because of the exclusivity, you see a lot of people coming into Lagos, and now there's so much pressure on the road, pressure on the infrastructure, pressure. I mean, if you have 5,000 people using a product of 1,000, then you should know that it's going to break down every now and then. So Lagos does not have the resources right now to accommodate the number of people living in Lagos. But the way we can do it is to partner with the private sector, encourage private owners of businesses to look into the work-life balance. Encourage hybrid. If I don't have to come to work, maybe I can come to work maybe twice a week. And then I know that my car not being on the road is -1 car. So it helps. It helps with the pressure.
Yeah,
All right, so let's look at arbitrary rent increases. it's a thing in Lagos whereby every year, every 2 years, your rent goes up, and of course, you want to still keep your your apartment, so you have to somehow find a way to appease your landlords and all that. But what can Lagos State do to curb this? Because you also said that, I mean, if you look at the cost of inflation and every other thing, you can't really tell the landlord how much he should rent a house. But at the end of the day, if the landlord is increasing and salary is not increasing and businesses are not expanding, it's not a complete circle. So what can the government do at this point?
So we need to actually encourage digitalization in Lagos at large. And what this does is it helps to manage data, helps to manage. It means that the government now can see what's happening in Ejigo, in Ajao, and they can come in to make questions and get people to pay fines for breaching certain rules and regulations. Without that, we just have the agents doing the job, manpower and all of that. And you know what that means. It gives room for corruption, gives room for you don't get a lot of transparency and all of that. So with regards to pricing and all of that, with regards to inflation of just landlord waking up tomorrow and saying he wants to increase, yes, there's a need for a landlord to say, oh, based on inflation, based on how this house is, I need to renovate and all of that. And right now, what you're paying will not cover for that renovation because I still have to make, because it's also a business, and all of that for the landlord. The landlord should actually have, should I say, an overhead that would look into this in terms of, oh, we need to renovate our property and all of that, and they give a reasonable price, like to increase your rent from what it is to what it would ordinarily be if you want to renovate. Because some people just wake up and increase the rate using by 70, some 100%.
Yes.
And they tell you if you cannot pay, you have to move out because the next person coming will pay the increase. You don't have no idea. There's a backlog of tenants or people searching for property out there. So if you can't afford it, please leave. The next person coming in will afford it. So once we can have a digital system where all properties are registered, landlords are registered, and it goes beyond just community. Because the community people try, and you go to the community, maybe leader and all of that, they have like a registered, number 15, this person that stays there and all of that. But that information does not get as far as, to the state government to be able to see that, okay, this is what's happening. So in Ejibo, if you're looking for a property around 1 million naira for a bed or 2 bed, go to the environment. Now, if you go online, even in Surulere, even in Agege, you don't know how much until you speak to the agents. There's no synchronization of how much you get to pay in different areas because there's no digital system, no data to follow up on these things. That's why landlords can just increase the rent. And the law is there. The law is against this thing. So the government, they've done their part by putting in the law to say, okay, you cannot increase your rent until after 2 years. And it has to be done with, done in writing. You have to, of course, reach out to the tenants 6 months before you do that, all have to prepare their minds and all that. But, I think it's not just about the 6 months. It's not just about the 2 years. It's about the reasonability in pricing. I can't be paying a 2.5 million naira rent and you just increase it to about 4 million naira or 3.5. That's beyond my imagination and all of that. So it's still back to the government to be able to catch. And then if you do that, how then do I report? How then do I say, you've given me you've asked my rent. I don't feel comfortable about it. I want to report you. Now there's a system for that. They'll tell you, you can go to the court, you can report go to Alawusa and all of that. But that's a long stretch because the landlord does not see any need for you to do that it would get sanctioned. But if the landlord knows that his property is under regulation by a particular agency, by the government, then he knows that it can be called upon.
Okay. All right. So I would like to ask again. You talked about someone living in Korodu working on the island, but ideally, I feel if I'm working on the island, I should get an apartment on the island instead of waking up 5 a.m. I mean, if I'm living on the island and I work on the island, I probably have to wake up 6 to get to the office, 7 or 8, and waking up 4 a.m. to get to the office. It reduces stress, it reduces a whole lot of things. So do you think the Lagos state government can come into this kind of thing whereby people work and live within their environment instead of commuting or traveling. And all. We even have people living outside Lagos.
Yeah,
who come
coming
in
to Lagos,
Monday,
yes.
squat with someone, and by Friday they go back to their various states.
Well, at the end of the day, it's most companies will not advise you to get your living environment, your apartment far away from the workplace, because of course emergencies, you have to come to the office early and all of that. But sometimes you have to do what you have to do, and that's not really on the government. Now, where the government can help pushing stuff, because I've seen it work out in other countries, is what maybe said earlier, the transportation system. Trust me, you can stay as far as Ibadan. If you know that your train leaves by 6:15 and to get to Lagos, let's say CMS Marina here, for less than 30-45 minutes, you're good. I have a lot of friends that go as far as from Manchester in the UK, and they go down to London for work. Yeah, it's about, let's say, 4 hours by rail. I mean, most of them are in the care like industry, because of it gives them the chance to do that. But because they know that they can travel that far with that time and nothing's going to happen, they take it. It's not advisable, because anything can happen. You can have there could be a strike, there could be anything. But in the real sense, there's a working system. So if once we have that working system, I know people talk about how good the train is from Ibadan to Lagos. Now people are really enjoying it. Yeah. That's what we're saying. If we have more of that, we have trams, you realize that where you live might not really matter. How far it is from work might not really matter once you have a working transportation system. Because you do understand that the houses within the city are always very expensive because of this comfort.
Yeah.
I would
proximity
to work and all of that, and then city life and all of that. So not everyone will be able to afford it. So if everybody has to live in the city, then it will be congested.
Yep.
So people still have to go as far as Ikorodu, Iba 400, but if there's a connecting, shall I say, rail system, trams and all of that, it helps.
Yeah.
I don't really buy into the BRT, because if you look at the system with BRT all the way from, let's say, Obanikoro down to Ikorodu, they see that sometimes they still have to enter into the road and all of that. But if you have just one rail from, let's say, from Yaba down to Ikorodu, and it just goes. A particular train can take like 5,000 people.
Yeah.
That's 5,000 people off the road, and then you're jetting as far as, you have some stops and all of that. Yeah, at intervals, but it's faster.
Yes.
It's cleaner. So once you do that, you put that into the system, and everybody gets in Ikorodu, you find your way with your shuttles and all of that. But you see how many people you've taken outside off the road. People that want to come down to Obanikoro, they come down, Onikpanu, they come down, Tony, like that, and it's just smooth and clean. BRT buses, can't really contain that.
Yes. Okay. Back to our agents, because those people are doing wonders. I saw a landlord who he wasn't in Nigeria, and the tenants were paying, was it 1.3 million as rent. Some of them stayed in that house for 3 years. They never saw the landlords. They never saw their landlords, rather. So when he came, he saw them, greeted them, and said, "Hope you guys are okay. Everything is working." And I was like, "Sir, except for the rent is quite high." It was like, 700,000 is not much. And everybody was like, 700 what? I said, 700,000. I am fair, because I understand how the Nigeria economic system is. Said, "Well, sir, we pay 1.3 million. This is someone I know." They said, "We'll pay 1.3 million. And I was like, "How?" That I have been seeing all your payments. The agents, the caretaker has been sending in your money. So where is that money coming from? Now, there are these agents, like you rightly said, some of those people, they put these houses at negotiated price of 50 million. And at the end of the day, these agents and whatever their associations are, they put in over 100% of that money. And we, maybe the people who want to buy or who want to rent that particular house, start shouting, complaining and all that. what does the law, or how does the law catch up with those people? Because some of them are really doing more harm than good in our society today, in Lagos today. So the law, what is the law doing about that? Are they even recognized? Are they registered? What does, citizens, what do they need to know about these agents that are ripping off or using tenants to make gains?
Well, there's a bill that Lagos government has passed I believe they should have passed it by now, or it's in the works. And that's to regularize agents, want them to be registered and all of that. Now, I believe that being registered is not just enough. You see, we're in 2025, and fast-growing countries are actually doing these things digitally. Now, if you put side by side, if you go to ChatGPT, you put side by side a digital system compared to the basic manpower system and all of that, you see the benefits you get from the digital system. Transparency, it's very key. As a landlord, I can decide to just say, you know what, I don't have time for speaking to my tenants and all of that, so just assign to someone else. Now, how do you get to monitor these things when it's not digitalized? Now, you see a lot of e-commerce websites. Owners of these properties can be anywhere, and you can see the price, because what the price you put up there is what I'll pay. You don't expect me to come online and I see a room self-con for 800,000 naira, and then behind they're telling me to come and pay 1.6 million. I will not do that. That means you are, of course, being shady. So that's actually what going digital does. It puts transparency to these things. And the government, they've done their best with regards to putting these laws. They've told you, if you see any agent that's asking for more than 5%, report them. You know where to go to. But the reason why you don't go there is because when you're doing your what do you call it, house inspection, there were like 50 people there wanting to get this accommodation. So before you go and report, someone has collected the house. So if we can put all of these things into the digital structure, every property must be registered. If you're looking for a property, you know where to go to. It doesn't have to be one real estate website, but you could have different, maybe based on the kind of agents. Agents can come together and say, you know what, this property is within Ejigo. Want to have like our own website and put the pricing there and all of that. People can see it. Now there's an agency that goes around checking these properties, seeing if they're compliant to certain rules and regulations or policies that have been put in place. But until we do that, you can't know. I mean, these government people sit down in your office, they don't know what's happening in the streets. So the laws are there, they've passed the laws. And I'm always big on, awareness. Awareness in the sense that, we just wake up every morning and say the policy, we pass the policy, but the people in the street, they don't even know. Even the landlords they don't know what these policies are. Awareness is very key. So people need to get digitalized with all of these things. Until we start doing this, there will not be transparency, and people will not know what they're fighting for.
Another set of people that I think the law should also go after are the landlords themselves, the landlord associations. So sometimes, you don't have to laugh right now. Now, the thing is this. I have also seen, or rather in my community where I stay, there is a landlord association where this one tells this one, I heard this is what houses are being rented out right now. So why don't we increase the rent in this community? My area, yes, they are fair enough. Truth be told, they are fair enough in their prices. Whether from 3-bedroom to a room and parlor and the likes, they are fair enough. But now, those associations, are they recognized by the law? Are they recognized by government? That a certain association can just sit down and decide to increase rents?
No. Yes, it's a yes and it's a no answer. No, yes, in the sense that the government recognize the smaller groups. You see them. They also fall under the this local government council agents and all that.
Yes.
But there's you can recognize, you can create something for the sake of just create these things, and then you can create something for the sake of we want to follow through. Now, that the following through is where I don't believe. that the government recognizes them. Because if they do, you'd see a system where the price of housing is kind of balanced. And that's why I said, 2 houses side by side, let's even put it, 2 developed houses side by side, and this one tells you, oh, it's an ensuite, this one tells you it's a smart home, and this one believes that, oh, because it's an ensuite with white painting, I want to have my
POP.
I want to have POP. I want my 2 bedrooms to be 5 million naira. And this one believes that it's a smart home. I've spent more money. I've put in Alexa and the rest. But I want to be like 10 million naira. Why? So they are recognized, but there's no follow through. And the reason why there's no follow through is because of the system. If we don't go digital, I'm going to keep talking about this, going digital, because the government most times will not leave their houses. They will not leave their offices to manage these things. Do you understand? It's just agents, which house, so yeah, enter into the street, kind of on WhatsApp, who is checking all of these things. CSC will collect your money as an agent, you Abisco and someone's housing this thing. You register, you're already a proprietor of a business, and you still start putting up listings on your page. And people are following you. You have a channel. Does the government know really what you are doing? Now, in a way, CSE is the government's, side of doing regulation of business. Blah, blah. They know that you have a business, but who exactly is checking to see that the business you are running is running the right way? So yes, they know that these communities they exist, the landlords and association they exist, and all that. They know, because when it's time for election, they come to them. They know, but who is checking in that area? They don't. So it's a yes or no, a yes and no answer. But all in all, I don't think, at the end of the day, if the government don't actually check and help us with
if the government, if they are known and partly known and partly unknown, and tenants want to report increment or indiscriminate increment right now, and these people are not known, how can the tenant feel safe, feel confident that, when I go to a certain office and say, this is what my landlord is doing, the person is just increasing money unnecessarily, how will the tenant feel safe enough or feels confident that, yes, this office, this government agency is going to fight for my rights?
They will actually. Let's give them some credit. The issue here is a lot of Nigerians or a lot of Lagosians would not exhaust that option. We just want I don't want to fight my landlord. I don't have that strength. Lawyer will collect more money from my hand. So, but the office is there. They've told you come. So when we keep doing this, you'd see results. Results will come out from there.
Okay.
All right. So let's look at the new tenancy law, 2011, that states that, of course, you can pay rent 3 to 6 months, not more than that. But I'm not seeing any enforcement. I'm not seeing people reporting. There's this agent. I have about 3 or 4 agents that send me all this updates every day. At the point, I challenged one that, look, you can't be saying 2 years rent. That there's a new tenancy law, and he read it and just ignored me. And I felt like, and he did it again the following week. He kept on. So is there any actual enforcement, or is there some sort of fear of reporting these landlords? Maybe some of these tenants might be blacklisted.
So the truth is, again, like you said, you know your rights as a learned person, and you've relayed this to the agents. Oh, I can't be paying over some amount of money. I can't pay for 2 years. I should pay for a year and all of that. And you read it, said nothing. That means, Baba, when you're ready, you come and there are people that are ready to come and collect this accommodation. So that's where we are. Because this guy is not tied to any government, he knows that they're not draining his ears. He knows that if he does anything, he will get away with it. So where do you want to even see him? But if his name is actually, that's why the government is saying they want all agents to be registered. Yeah. So we ourselves, as in quote customers, should not patronize an unregistered agent. Landlords as well should not give out listings to unregistered agents. So once everyone that's the whole point of being registered is so that the government has an idea who are the agents in this area, who sold this property out, who rented this property out. Is data. If you can't run an administration smoothly without data, and that's why you yourself as a resident looking for an accommodation, you can now, you know that, okay, I'm going to join the chat, let's say Telegram channel or WhatsApp channel of A, B, and C properties listing, all of that. And I know he's registered. So because he's registered, he knows that he's registered. And if he messes up, there's a beneath there, whatever, there's a call center. I mean, if you don't like our services and all of that. I mean, it's just like all these private owned shuttles you see on their websites. For example, they'll tell you, okay, if you don't like the driver, please reach out to this place. If you don't, because there's someone regulating the driver. So once we have these agents registered, it means that their data is now registered with the government. And now when you go to the government directly, because the agent even knows that you can report me and I'll lose my license. And when I lose my license, I'll not be able to function. Yeah. No landlord will be able to work with me. I'll not be able to get listings. You see, you can see how transparent it gets and how it helps.
Yeah. Let's look at the legal aspects of renting an apartment in Lagos. A lot of people rent houses without any written documents. It's just, some even pay ahead. Once they see the house, they just, let me pay, don't worry. And, this has also given room for so many rent hikes and so many things. The landlord can, basically do anything because, there's no agreement and all that. How can we, what do people living in Lagos, what they need to know, talking as a lawyer right now, what are the things they need to know before renting a house or even going for an inspection?
Well, if there's anyone right now in 2025 that does not do certain background checks before you go into, if you're giving your money out to anybody, then you should be flogged. You should be whipped because between brothers, you have to document these things. So it's not just even to collect, it's not to go for inspections only. I tell people these days, you have to also do your own background check on the building itself. So you don't move into your house and within 6 months the house is sold. Yeah, you understand. And sometimes you spend money to avoid bigger issues or bigger problems. Imagine going to a property 6 months down the line and you're being told, oh, you have to evacuate. A developer has purchased this place. It's evil, but it's something that we see every now and then because, again, we don't have a system that captures information and data. No one should do that if there was a system. Because, for example, you have a property that you want to sell or you own sold. For you to say you want to bring in rents or bring in people to, tenants, then you have to still go back to them and tell them, okay, you have about 6 flats you want to rent and all of that, and then they give you a go ahead because there are no encumbrances with regards to that property. But I would advise anyone trying to get an accommodation out right now, do your background checks to avoid stories that touch, and then ensure that every transaction is documented. You have your tenancy agreement, and your tenancy agreement is read by a lawyer. Yeah. And I always say this because we think that because law is written in English.
Yes.
Don't forget, even in China, law is written in Mandarin, but law is law. Law has its own language, so you can be reading something and it's so totally different. And I always give a very good example. There's a difference between a yearly tenancy and a periodic tenancy. If you see a document and it says you're a periodic tenancy, it means that from the 1st of January up until the date that was stated on that place. Once that date lapses, you are no longer a tenant. A yearly tenancy means that you can roll over without writing to the landlord. But a periodic tenant must write officially to the landlord within 3 months or thereabouts that you want to retain. So you can see that this English, though it covers for a period of time, they have different meanings. If you have a fixed tenancy, it means that your house. So these things have to, once you are getting a property or you're trying to rent, make sure it's documented. Make sure you understand what's in the documents.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Toby. We were having a conversation before we came back on the show. That's the quality of houses that are being built right now. We've seen developers, of course, before you know the house, in a week, in 2 weeks, of course, the house is up there. Maybe maybe a house that wasn't a story building is easily converted to 2 stories, 3 stories building, like that. Now, how do you measure how does the government measure the quality of houses that are being built right now? Seeing that every now and then houses are collapsing, buildings are collapsing.
POPs.
We are not talking about old buildings now.
New buildings.
We're talking about new buildings. And the interesting part of this thing is that while these people were building, you see Lagos State, is it land? Lasra, yes.
Lasra, yeah.
They come around, they come to places, and of course, if you've not done the payment or whatever it is, you see your red tape there, you can't continue. The house is marked, and while they've gone, the building continues. When they are here, they stop working and all that. How does the law checkmate all these things? The quality of houses that are built. Now, we know, yes, you are building rent. Why should I stay in a house that is substandard materials were used to erect that building? How is the government checkmating all this?
Well, I mean, as a tenant, I can't really blame you for any problems that the house might encounter while you're in there, because I'm a lawyer. I don't know what the quality of wall looks like or the POP looks like. So this is more of the landlord, of course, and the developers than the government. So because of, and the new tax law regards to real estate, the government is really trying to ensure that most investors are here for a long time and not a short time. That means build properties that will last for a long time. But what most of the properties you see these days are just quickly 3-6 months, and then because of, you see a lot of investors who tell you within 6 months return on investment, invest 100 million naira, get 150 million. So short-term stuff causes these things as well too. Just look for materials anywhere to build. Now with regularization, the government, this is where transparency comes in, and should I say efficiency, gets putting in the right people into these offices, people that know what they're doing. Don't go and bring your sister's child that just finished from uni and there's no job anywhere, that studied law, to come and work in a quantity surveying office to come checking the quality of sand and stones, and you say the person will learn through the ranks. No, get people that employ people that know their jobs. And this is where also the issue of implementing digitalization system into our structures come in play as well too. Because now you said something that's very, very, very common in Lagos. They'll put their red mark and all of that, and they go, and building continues. Why? Because they have an intel. Someone will tell them, don't worry, just continue. We have someone that would, tip and all of that, corruption and all those things. But we can't start discussing corruption. It's a very large stuff. But we need to have people with integrity in the system more. And that it goes back to, let's stop this Nepo system where I just bring my child in to work and she's not qualified.
Okay.
All right. So now I like to also look at this. What legal protections do citizens have, when faced with rent spikes? Some will even tell you a month. What is actually the legal time frame? Yes, for rent increase, because there's always been back and forth, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, or if the landlord asks you to leave, what's the duration that I have to leave the house and all that? What are some of these things?
Yeah, we're writing, I think top of the roof, I think it's 2 years that the landlord can take. You have to give the tenant at least 2 years, before you can say you want to increase your rent. And then it has to be done in writing. And this must be done 6 months before you then increase the rent, which means that they have enough time to decide if they want to leave or they can afford to pay the increase. And the increase as well so has to be justifiable. Just don't wake up and say you want to increase because you feel like you need more money. So now the legal steps that a tenant can take if they don't feel good about this, you go to court. You can write, the court, you can get a lawyer. That's my best advice, get a lawyer to look into this situation. First, I would of course advise mediation, because we are very emotional people. So before you take your landlord to court and start having let's have a lawyer that would speak from the legal standpoint, make the landlord see that you have certain rights, and see where it goes from there. But there's always a place for the law. You can always report these things. Reporting is one, enforcement is the other one, and awareness is the major one because a lot of Nigerians don't know that they have these rights to report. So.
Former governor Babatunde Fashola mooted this idea of people paying per month as to those who cannot save up for a year. Do you think if Lagos goes into that kind of policy, that kind of legislation, it would maybe be able to accommodate, if not all the low income earners, but maybe half of the population?
Yes, it would. It would. Paying monthly would actually help. So to make it, if the efficiency in that now is where I would now suggest management companies, to be able to look through the books. As a landlord, you have tenants, over 16 tenants or 10 to 16 tenants in your flat or your building. I would advise you get property managers to help you with this monthly, because there are even benefits actually. I was telling a client of recent that, do you know that you can make so much money from the money market, from the monies that tenants pay with regards to what do you call it, service charge and all of that. You can make money from it over the year, which means that if the service charge is about 250,000 naira, you have about 10 tenants.
Yeah.
That's good money you put into your mutual funds and leave it there. It generates interest for you in the long run. So people don't know this because real estate as well too is should be a source of income for people, and you can make more money. So, 6 months paying per month is actually very good to help a lot of people. But people, the landlords need to see the benefits in regards to these things, and this is where financial experts come in to the lowest ground. Let's not speaking too much English with these people. Let them see the benefits they get. Some of them are complaining about the maintenance, how they then have to maintain the house and all of that. This is where, of course, insurance companies come into as well. A lot of houses are not even insured. There's a very fine house in my area, very, very fine house, and I was devastated the day I realized that there was no fire extinguisher in the entire building. So what happens if, most of our houses are built without the water, emergency stuff and all of that. So these are things that developers need to start looking into. Landowners or landlords need to start looking into the possibilities of people paying per month and how can they get this into the financial side of things. Imagine someone paying let's say 250,000 every month to you, and you're keeping this in your money market, the money mutual funds or whatever. It helps you generate interest over the year, and you make more money compared to what they pay you once. So there are benefits to these things as well.
Wow, that's beautiful. Okay, so are there some behavioral changes that you think, as we are entering 2026, behavioral changes that landlords, tenants, developers, governments, what are those behavioral changes that you think that they need to have to ensure a better rental ecosystem?
Personally, I feel like I was going to use a slang, but I feel like the government need to touch the grass. They need to go outside and see what's really, really happening. It's not about just sitting in the office. They need to have a positive approach towards listening to the cries of the people. People are really crying about housing issues, to be honest. But we are so far away from. I will say it. The people and the government are far apart.
Yeah.
The real life, what the average Nigerian or average Lagosian is going through, the government can't really understand it, and you can't blame them. They're in their AC, they're on the island, so no matter how you cry, you can't really feel it. But this is where you differentiate politics and governance. As a good leader, you go deep down to see how these people are faring, what you can do for them immediately. And this is where the hope, private-public partnership comes in to get affordable housing and all of that. That's a good step. It shows that you are compassionate, you have empathy. And as a leader, these are core skills of leadership. To be empathetic, to be good, to be a good listener to the people. So these are certain behaviors that once we have these, our government people they start to show this attitude. And then of course, from our own side, landlords, we are seeing people willing to get information. Okay, I have a property. How can I better use this property? Like Olumide rightly mentioned, the paying per month. A lot of people don't even know about the mutual funds and the money market and all of that. I just want my 6 million naira rent from this entire property and do what I want to do. but they've forgotten that you can make more money as you go every month from, saving this money in the bank or with, microfinance, and tech, and all of these things. There's more money that you can make from paying per month.
I hope those career
Because it comes
landlords
with interest as well too.
All right.
Yeah,
So,
I said I hope those career landlords understand what you're saying.
They do. They do.
yeah, you mentioned something about insurance, which I'll also like us to look at. Because, I mean, it has happened to me once when I rented an apartment, and barely less than a month, there was a day it rained, the drainage system was not that good, and water flooded my house, damaged a couple of things. I mean, at the point, I was even threatening to sue the landlord because some of my properties were damaged. So, do you think there should be some form of a law that mandates landlords to insure their house, or can the tenants go ahead and insure? How would they even insure? They are not the owners of the property.
So in the UK, I know there are some properties that you as a tenant can insure your property.
Okay.
You also have access to your insurance, but the house itself, the landlord has to do that himself. So this then begs the question as to what then do you use the service charge and all those other extra to do? Like, what do you do with them? Can we swap those things for insurance? Which means that if there's something happening with the house, repairs or whatever,
Yes.
you have an insurance company that covers it for you. So this is more awareness to certain benefits that you get. Let's change the narrative. Let's get certain benefits. These things are there. Insurance companies are there. They are ready to help you. They're ready to. I mean, you see a lot of people come and cry. Oh, the house got burnt, and you'll be there wondering, like, your house got burnt. Okay, so you need us to actually gather money for you when there's supposed to be like an insurance to cover up for these things. So we are still very backwards when it comes to insurance. We just feel like that money is going. The money I'm sending. But when the trouble comes, it's like HMO and the rest. When trouble comes, you actually enjoy these benefits. So,
And some will ask, what if the trouble doesn't come?
if it doesn't come,
So
then
I think
that's why it's called an insurance.
So, lastly, because there's always been this debate, who is supposed to take care of repairs in the house, for instance? I mean, I've seen a situation whereby the water tank in one of my friend's house fell, and they asked the landlord. The landlord said,
I don't live there.
he's not he's not obligated to do that. Is it? Who is actually obligated to take care of certain repairs in the house if it's not from your end? I mean, if it's not if the fault wasn't from the tenant.
So this is if you look through the agreement, tenancy agreements between the tenant and the landlord, you see that the external repairs should be carried out by the landlord. Internal repairs by the tenant. Now, there's instances where internal repairs go intertwined with the external. For example, like you said, maybe water leaking through the walls and all of that. I strongly believe that the landlord should cater for that. In all of the houses that I stayed when I was abroad, they have their designated repair managers. I don't even deal with the landlord. I just have the app. Oh, there's an issue. You say that toilets, kitchen, and all that. You just put it there, and then within 2, 3, 4 hours, they're right there in your building to fix these things, because it is supposed to be part of the service charge. You understand? It's supposed to be part of the service charge. I calculated the service charge of what everyone is paying where I stay in a year is about 3 to 6 million naira. Over 3 million naira. Now that's money that you can actually give to an insurance company that has a partnership with a real estate management, repairs and all that. When there's a problem, you don't even need to talk to your landlord or anything. This is what has happened, and then you go and fix it. We still do the back and forth system, and that's why we have a lot of problems. Oh, yeah, I don't want to fix it. But what do they pay service charge for? Or is it until when I'm leaving that I did not break anything? Now come and take my money.
We did.
So we have to look at what the agreement is all about. All these agents, commission, and all of that. Scrap these things. These things don't really affect what we are, what we are saying here. And that's why once we can get, it's a chain. Once we get the agents to be registered, Now the housing system is more regularized because the government has a high on distance. Now agents are not asking for ridiculous amounts of money. You can cover, but I know fully what I'm paying. This money that's supposed to go to the agents is going to be covered for insurance, covered for maintenance of the property. I'll be happy. I can easily even call for repairs. But because I know I've paid a lot of money, so landlord, they must fix it. Landlord must fix it. But a landlord himself is not even aware, or is aware, just like a Jessica about it, that he needs to actually get his property insured or put the property under a repair company. And there's so many repair companies out there that, just doing their thing.
All right, thank you very much, John Oloruntobi, for your insight, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So glad to have you.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been quite an insightful topic, an insightful discussion here on Just Africa. And of course, this is where we will round off Just Africa today. Join us tomorrow for another edition of Just Africa. I am Olumide Shokoya.
And I am Omevi Idolo. Thank you for watching.